Have you ever noticed how Hollywood tries so hard to sell us a picture of perfection? It wants us to believe that celebrities live spotless lives, where every smile is perfect, every move is calculated, and every decision is flawless. They make it seem like these stars are living in a bubble, untouched by the chaos of the real world. But the truth is, no one fits into that perfect picture, not even the most famous faces we know. And Johnny Depp, more than almost anyone else, has proven that. He has never pretended to be perfect, and he doesn't hide from the mess of life. In fact, he once said something that explains exactly how he sees the world. He said, "I'm not searching for purity, I'm searching to live fully." And when you think about it, those words might just be the most honest thing you'll ever hear from a Hollywood star. It's not just a catchy quote. It's not just something to put on a poster. It's a philosophy he's been living by. Even when the world was trying to pull him apart, if you've been paying attention to his journey over the last decade, you already know how wild it's been. From explosive court battles to canceled movie deals, from being labeled one thing in the press to making dramatic comebacks on the big screen, Johnny Depp's life has been a roller coaster, and yet through it all, he has never tried to package himself as some kind of perfect figure. He hasn't tried to bleach out the flaws or sweep his mistakes under the rug. Instead, he's embraced the chaos, the unpredictability, and the human side of it all. That's why when he says he's searching to live fully, you believe him. Because he's living proof of it. If you rewind a little and look at the beginning of his career, you can already see how he never fit the Hollywood mold. From the start, he wasn't chasing the same roles as everyone else. Most actors in the 90s were fighting to be the next action hero, the next romantic lead, the clean-cut superstar that families could idolize. Depp didn't care about any of that. He went for the strange, the odd, the characters that made people tilt their heads and wonder, why would anyone choose to play that? But that's what drew him in. He wasn't trying to be the perfect actor. He was trying to be an honest one. Someone who could embody characters that felt alive, even if they were flawed or misunderstood. Think about it. From Edward Scissorhands to Sleepy Hollow, from Donnie Brasco to Pirates of the Caribbean, his characters were never simple. They were complicated, sometimes broken, sometimes humorous, but always layered. And that's exactly what made him stand out. Most people in Hollywood build careers by trying to protect a flawless image. Depp built his by exploring imperfection. He turned messiness into art, and maybe that's what we as the audience connect to. Because the truth is, none of us are perfect either. We all have messy stories, broken relationships, regrets, and battles that no one else sees, and when a celebrity like Johnny Depp stands there and says, "I'm not searching for purity," it's like he's giving us permission to breathe, to stop pretending, to live our lives without feeling guilty about the scars we carry. Now, of course, his life has been weighed down by more drama than most of us could imagine. The media turned his personal struggles into a spectacle. His name was dragged through headlines again and again. People debated him on social media like he wasn't even human, like he was just a symbol to argue about. And yet, even in the middle of that storm, he didn't try to play the role of the saint. He didn't beg the world to see him as pure. Instead, he leaned on what he believes. Life is not about appearing spotless. It's about living through the chaos and finding meaning in it. And that's the part that hits us, because how often do we do the opposite? How often do we chase purity in our own lives? We chase the perfect job title. We dream of the perfect relationship. We worry about what people think of us, whether our reputation looks clean, whether our mistakes are hidden. We work so hard to look perfect on the outside that we forget to feel alive on the inside. And maybe that's what Depp is reminding us, that life isn't about being spotless. It's about being present, even in the mess. It's about living so fully that you don't need perfection to validate your existence. What's interesting is that people close to him say this isn't just something he says. It's something he lives. Behind the scenes, Depp is at his happiest when he's lost in his art. Not just acting, but painting, playing music, creating. Those are the things that fill him up. When he's on set, he's not the kind of actor who sticks rigidly to the script. He improvises, he experiments, he adds pieces of himself into the role. That's exactly how Captain Jack Sparrow came to life. Nobody planned him to be this eccentric, unpredictable, hilarious character. That was all Depp. It was him leaning into the chaos, trusting his instincts, and giving the world something we didn't even know we needed. And maybe that's the lesson hidden in his words. Living fully doesn't mean living safely. It doesn't mean following a straight path where nothing ever goes wrong. It means taking risks. It means failing sometimes. It means laughing loudly even when people stare. It means crying deeply, even when people don't understand. It means experiencing every single part of life instead of trying to filter it into something clean and picture perfect. When you look at Depp's career and his personal life, you can see that pattern. He's had extreme highs, movies that broke records, characters that became legends, fame and fortune that most actors could only dream of. And he's had crushing lows, betrayals, scandals, financial trouble, heartbreak, public battles that played out in front of the entire world. But through it all, he didn't hide. He lived it. He felt it. And maybe that's why he's still standing today. Because living fully builds resilience in a way that chasing purity never can. Now think about your own life for a second. How often have you tried to live purely? Maybe you avoided taking risks because you didn't want to fail. Maybe you stayed quiet because you didn't want people to judge you. Maybe you chose safe paths instead of chasing what really excited you because you didn't want to mess up. And yet deep down, those safe choices didn't make you feel alive. They just made you feel stuck. That's the difference between purity and fullness. Purity looks good on the outside, but it often feels empty. Living fully might look messy, but it feels real. And that's why Johnny Depp's words cut through all the noise. Because he's reminding us of something we already know deep down. That people don't connect to perfection. They connect to honesty. They connect to flaws. They connect to the raw, unpolished, complicated side of being human. That's what makes us interesting. That's what makes us relatable. And that's what makes life worth living. Depp's journey has proven that again and again. Even when he was facing his darkest moments, fans around the world continued to stand by him. And when you stop and think about it, that's not something most celebrities get. Usually when a star falls from grace, the public is quick to turn their back. People love the rise, but they also love the fall, and many careers have been destroyed. Overnight because the world decided someone wasn't worth supporting anymore. But with Johnny, it was different. Why? Not because he was perfect. Not because he did everything right. In fact, it was the opposite. People connected to him because he was human, because he wasn't trying to wear a mask to hide behind, because even in the middle of his struggles, even when the media was painting him in the worst light possible, he still showed us glimpses of the person underneath. And that person wasn't flawless. He was raw, vulnerable, complicated, and real. And in a world where so many people are busy faking perfection, that kind of honesty feels refreshing. It feels rare. It feels necessary. And that's the thing about Depp. He has always been different from the Hollywood machine that tries to polish every edge. You don't get the sense that he wants to be adored for being untouchable. You get the sense that he wants to be understood for being real. That's why fans didn't leave. They saw a reflection of themselves in him. The messy parts, the broken parts, the parts that weren't always pretty. And that's a powerful connection. Because deep down, don't we all just want someone to look at us and say, I see you even in your flaws and you're still worth supporting? That's what Depp has always offered his fans, and in return, they've given him loyalty that doesn't just vanish when the headlines get dark. Think back to the times when his career seemed uncertain. There were moments when it looked like Hollywood had closed its doors on him for good. Studios didn't want to take the risk. Contracts were being pulled. Journalists were writing obituaries for his career as if it was already over. And yet, when he would walk into a courtroom or onto a stage or even just down the street, fans were there, cheering, holding signs, shouting words of encouragement, some even camping outside just to catch a glimpse of him. That kind of devotion doesn't come from perfection. It comes from something deeper. It comes from connection. And let's be honest, connection is something that most celebrities never really achieve. Sure, they can get likes and followers and magazine covers, but that doesn't mean people are loyal to them. That doesn't mean people care about them, beyond the surface. Johnny Depp, though, built a relationship with his fans that was based on something more meaningful. It was built on years of showing himself in roles that spoke to the outsiders, the misunderstood, the people who never quite fit the mold. Characters like Edward Scissorhands, who was gentle and creative but judged for being different. Or Jack Sparrow, who was wild, unpredictable, and never played by the rules. Those roles weren't just performances. They were extensions of him. And fans didn't just fall in love with the characters. They fell in love with the honesty behind them. So when life started throwing him into chaos, when the headlines turned against him, fans didn't abandon him. Because to them, he wasn't just a movie star. He was someone who had been real with them from the beginning. Someone who had always shown the messy, creative, unpredictable side of life. And in return, they stood by him. That loyalty is proof. That authenticity is more powerful than any perfect image. Because a perfect image can be destroyed by one mistake. But authenticity? That lasts. And here's what's so interesting about that. In our own lives, we're taught to chase perfection. We're told to keep our mistakes hidden, to look polished, to always present the best version of ourselves. We think that's what will win people's respect. But Depp's story proves the opposite. People don't stay loyal to perfection. They stay loyal to honesty. They stay loyal to the parts of you that feel real. Because realness is rare, and when people find it, they don't want to let it go. That's why Depp's words hit so hard. When he said, "I'm not searching for purity, I'm searching to live fully." Because he's living proof that purity is fragile. You can spend years building a perfect reputation, and it can all fall apart with a single rumor or mistake. But living fully, messy, complicated, imperfect, that's untouchable. Because even when people try to bring you down, they can't erase the truth of who you are. And Johnny Depp has shown us that who he is, at his core, is someone who refuses to live behind a mask, someone who would rather stumble publicly than pretend privately, someone who would rather be broken and real than polished and fake, and maybe that's what we need more of, not just in celebrities, but in ourselves. Because how many of us waste years trying to live purely? We try to be the perfect student, the perfect partner, the perfect friend, the perfect employee. We obsess over how people see us. We try to filter out the messy parts of our story. But what if the messy parts are the most valuable? What if those are the parts that make us human, that make us relatable, that make us strong? That's the lesson hiding inside Johnny Depp's story. That's what makes his words so powerful. When you look at his darkest moments, you don't just see a man being torn apart by the media. You see someone who was still standing, still showing up, still creating, even when it would have been easier to disappear. That resilience comes from living fully, not from being pure. Purity is fragile. It shatters under pressure. But fullness makes you strong. Fullness makes you flexible. Fullness lets you bend without breaking. And that's exactly what kept Depp going, even when the world seemed to be against him. And maybe that's why fans kept showing up too. Because they weren't just watching a celebrity fall. They were watching a human being fight to keep living fully. And in some way, that gave them strength too. Because if he could keep going, even under that kind of pressure, then maybe they could too. So when people ask, why did Johnny Depp's fans stay so loyal? Why didn't they walk away when things got messy? The answer is simple. They didn't fall in love with a perfect man. They fell in love with a real one. And realness doesn't disappear when things get hard. If anything, it becomes even more powerful, and maybe that's the reminder we all need. That life isn't about being flawless, it's about being honest. It's about living so fully that people see your humanity and connect to it. Because at the end of the day, perfection fades, but honesty lasts forever. So when you hear him say he's not searching for purity, it's not him giving up on being good. It's him choosing to live authentically. It's him saying, I'd rather live a life full of mistakes, lessons, laughter, and tears than one that looks polished but feels empty. And honestly, isn't that something all of us secretly want? To stop pretending and just live? And maybe that's the challenge we can take away from his story. To stop worrying about being perfect. To stop cleaning up our lives so much that there's no room for chaos, no room for joy, no room for real living, because purity might win approval from other people, but it doesn't guarantee happiness. Living fully, on the other hand, guarantees that we'll actually feel alive. So maybe the next time you think about Johnny Depp, don't just think of the roles he's played or the scandals he's faced. Think about the man who stood up and said something we're all a little too afraid to say out loud, that life isn't about being pure. It's about being real. And now I'll turn the question over to you. Do you think Depp has it right? Is it better to chase a life that looks perfect or to live one that's full of mistakes, lessons, and real experiences? If this made you think differently about him, or maybe even about yourself, then keep exploring. I've got another deep dive into Depp's mysterious new life after Hollywood, and it connects perfectly to this conversation. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. Before you go, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who might need the reminder that living fully matters more than looking flawless. At the end of the day, we're all searching for something. But maybe, just maybe, the only search worth chasing is the one that helps us feel alive.